Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how to make an American flag cake. It's a cake with red, white, and blue decorations on the outside, and when you cut into it, it reveals the American flag inside. The 4th of July, or Independence Day, is right around the corner, so this is an outstanding cake to celebrate. So let's get started. To make the cake, first preheat the oven to 350 degrees. Lightly grease 2 9-inch round cake pans and 1 9-inch springform pan. Line each pan with a circle of parchment paper and set them aside for now. Then separate the eggs. Yes, you will need a dozen eggs for this recipe, and we will only be using the whites in this cake. If you would like to use the leftover egg yolks, you can check out my rich and creamy vanilla or chocolate ice cream recipe, and both recipes use a dozen egg yolks. I'll link to the videos in the description box so you can check them out. Set aside the egg whites for now. Then into a sifter over the bowl of a stand mixer, or you can use an electric hand mixer if you don't have a stand mixer, but a stand mixer is much easier. Add in the cake flour, baking powder, and salt. Sift the ingredients into the bowl and whisk them to combine them. Then turn the mixer onto low speed and add in the softened butter a little at a time. Then keep mixing it on low speed for another 2 minutes. Scrape down the sides. Then mix on low speed for another 2 minutes until it's combined and no longer crumbly. Then add in the sugar and about half of the milk that's at room temperature. Mix them on low speed until they're combined. Then beat them on medium speed for another 2 minutes. Then into a separate medium bowl, add in the rest of the milk, the egg whites from earlier, vanilla extract, and almond extract, which is optional, and whisk them until they're well combined. Add about a third of the wet ingredients into the rest of the mixture. Mix on low speed until combined. Scrape down the sides and continue mixing. Add another third of the wet ingredients. Mix until combined. Scrape down the sides and continue mixing. Then add in the rest of the wet ingredients. Mix until combined. Scrape down the sides. Then beat the batter on medium speed for another minute. Then finish it by hand to combine all the ingredients. Add 4 cups of the batter into a separate large bowl and color it blue. And for the stars, I'm mixing in some mini white chocolate chips and coated them with flour because I knew they would sink to the bottom as the cake bakes, but they still did once the cake was baked. But it's not a big deal, the cake still looks great without them. Then color the rest of the batter red. And I really like using this white cake recipe if I'm going to be coloring the batter, because the batter can be handled being mixed for up to 5 minutes and the cake still comes out light, fluffy, moist, and soft. So there's no need to worry about over-mixing the batter when mixing in the food coloring. Pour the blue-colored batter into the springform pan. Level out the top. And divide the red-colored batter evenly between the 2 cake pans. Level out the top. And bake them in the oven until they're cooked through and a toothpick inserted into the center comes out clean. The red layers will take about 25 to 30 minutes, and the blue layer will take about 45 to 50 minutes. Halfway through the baking time for the red cake layers, rotate the pans and switch oven racks so they bake evenly. Once the red cake layers are done, remove them from the oven and leave them to cool, and place the blue cake layer onto the middle rack in the oven if it's not already and let it finish baking. Then once it's done, remove it from the oven and let it cool completely. Then you're going to need a double batch of my best ever vanilla buttercream frosting. I'll put a link to that video in the description box, and the measurements for double the recipe are in the description box of that video. Once the cakes are completely cooled, run a butter knife around the edges to loosen them from the pan. Turn them out of the pan and remove the parchment paper from underneath. For the red cake layers, you need to trim the top and cut them horizontally twice so you have 3 thin cake layers and the top dome of the cake. Here I have a cake leveler that does it all at once. Try and use a cake leveler so they're even, and keep the top dome of the cake, we will be using it. And you should have 3 thin cake layers plus the top dome. Take the top dome of the cake and use something round that's 4.5 to 5 inches in diameter to cut a red circle out of it. And do that with some more cake layers until you have a total of 4 red circles. It doesn't matter how you do it, just as long as you have 4 small red circles. And you should be left with 3 or 4 full-sized cake layers. Then use the same round object to cut a circle in the center of the blue cake layer. And we will be using the ring on the outside, but not the circle that was just cut. Now to assemble the cake, spread a little frosting onto the cake board. Add one of the full-sized cake layers on top of it, making sure it's centered. Then spread on some of the frosting. Add another cake layer on top of it. Spread on some frosting. Add another cake layer on top of it. Spread on some frosting. Then add the blue cake ring on top of it. And add one of the red circles into the middle, pushing it down to the bottom. Then spread on a little more frosting. Add another red cake circle. Spread on a little frosting. Add another red cake circle. Spread on a little frosting. And finally add the last red cake circle on top. Then cover the whole cake in a thin layer of frosting. This is the crumb coat which seals all the crumbs and stops them from showing on the outside of the cake. Don't worry about how it looks at this point. Just cover the cake in a thin layer of frosting. Then place the cake into the fridge for 30 minutes or the freezer for 10 minutes until the frosting is set and no longer sticky. Then remove the chilled cake from the fridge or freezer and cover it in another layer of frosting, smoothing it out as best as you can. Then use a piping bag fitted with a star piping tip and turn it inside out about halfway down. Then use a paintbrush to add a stripe of red food coloring inside it. Clean off the paintbrush and add a stripe of blue food coloring onto the other side of the piping bag. Pour in the rest of the frosting. Squeeze it down to the bottom and squeeze out some of the frosting until both colors come out nicely. Then pipe a border around the top sides of the cake. Then I'm using some red, white, and blue sprinkles to decorate the sides of the cake. Just place the bowl right underneath the cake. Grab a handful of sprinkles and press them onto the lower sides of the cake, doing it right over the bowl so it catches any excess. Scrape any excess sprinkles back into the bowl and keep going all the way around the cake. And I'm finishing it off with some star sprinkles on top of the cake. Then when you're ready to serve, cut out a slice to reveal the American flag inside. And that's how to make an American flag cake. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, give this video a like and check out my channel for many more videos and subscribe to my channel for more to come. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.